Welcome to Beatsource Tech. My name is Mojaxx, and today I'm going to keep the preamble to a minimum because we have a brand new standalone all-in-one device from the team at Pioneer DJ, but this one brings with it a few changes. So before we talk product, let's talk branding. The Omnis Duo is not a Pioneer DJ product. That name appears nowhere on it. Instead, it's branded Alpha Theta, which is a name you may already be familiar with, as that's the name of the parent company of Pioneer DJ. There will be some confusion around all this, but it's actually quite simple. Alpha Theta, the parent company, now has multiple brands under their umbrella: Pioneer DJ, Alpha Theta, Rekordbox and Horizon. Think of it like in music, which owns Rain, Denon DJ, Newmark and many other brands. I guess the difference here is that there are no products sold under the In Music brand itself, and that's the part that will perplex a few people. Alpha Theta has a separate brand, also called Alpha Theta. But all that really matters is that Alpha Theta branded products will be a new series, and they will tend to be more experimental, perhaps more playful than Pioneer DJ Kit. That brand isn't going anywhere, at least from what I've been told. Existing products will still be available with Pioneer DJ branding, and it sounds like there will be more gear released in future with it too. Personally, I'm happy about all of this. I like this company when they're in experimental mode. Often Pioneer DJ stuff can be rather safe and staid, as they understandably have to retain a certain level of continuity with older equipment. With this new Alpha Theta brand, there are clearly no such concerns. Which brings us to the Omnis Duo itself. Let's address the elephant in the room. Yes, we've seen this concept before. The Denon DJ Prime Go is also a 2-channel battery-powered standalone device, which launched in 2020, and we've seen the Mixstream Pro Go from the same stable in the intervening years. So whilst the Omnis Duo is not the first product to tread this path, I myself will be very happy if this becomes a widely adopted form factor in the industry, as there's a lot to love about it. Having something truly portable thanks to the battery is a fantastic thing. You can DJ on the sofa, in a tent, on the beach, up a mountain, wherever you like. Mains power is no longer a limiting factor. And whilst you can do that with many controllers, the device being standalone means that no laptop is required. It's one box and that's all you need. The Omnis Duo is priced at $1,500 in the US, which is a fair bit more than the Prime Go launched at, but still a fair price in today's market, I believe. I'm sure if the Prime Go was to be released today, it would be a fair bit above its initial $1,000 price. It's a little bigger than the Prime Go, at just under 20 inches wide and around 12 inches front to back, but that's justified given the larger jog wheels and 8 hot Q pads. It's still small enough to carry around in many DJ backpacks without issue, and at just over 10 pounds in weight, it isn't especially heavy either. The layout is very comfortable indeed. Everything is fairly small, but there's lots of space to work and I didn't feel cramped. The 7-inch touchscreen is bright and crisp. It looks kind of blurry in many of the shots in this video, but that's my fault for leaving the brightness too high. I'm sure some would prefer if the screen was angled towards the user slightly, but I think a horizontal display makes more sense with this form factor, and the viewing angle is wide enough that washout wasn't an issue. The jog wheels are much larger than those on the Prime Go, and that's a real plus. Whilst the Omnis Duo is clearly not aimed at the turntablist market, it is perfectly capable of some solid cuts, and although I'd always prefer some kind of virtual playhead indicator on the jog wheels themselves, there's enough visibility of those thanks to the screen being so close at hand. The jogs feel great with a nicely judged amount of resistance, and the top surfaces are highly responsive. Some of the other controls feel quite small. The fader caps, for example, and the pitch faders aren't the longest in the world, but those are still very accurate, especially in the plus and minus 6% range that I prefer, and the crossfader has a sharp cut and a fairly short cut-in distance. Let's talk aesthetics next. Like the Opus Quad, which was, I guess, unofficially the first Alpha Theta device, the look of the Omnis Duo is a fairly big departure from the norm. But where I personally didn't enjoy the styling of the Opus, and yes, I know many of you did, I can absolutely get down with the Omnis. The official line is that the colour is indigo and it's inspired by denim jeans. When I heard that, I thought it was going to look actually disgusting. But what that translates to in reality is matte dark blue, and I think it's a very attractive look. It doesn't show up greasy finger marks too badly, which was a concern, and overall I dig the clean and minimal look. As with the Opus, many of the traditional physical controls have been moved to the touchscreen, and whilst that wouldn't be my preference in a high pressure club environment, I think it works well on a device like this. Let me show you how it all functions. Alright, let's talk through the Omnis Duo and all the features and functions on here, because there is quite a lot to get into. It looks kind of plain and minimal on the surface, and that's because they have removed some of the physical controls from older devices and they've put them into the touchscreen. But there is actually quite a lot going on here. First of all, you'll notice we have the accurate time and date. That's because it's got that time and date from the internet. We are connected to the Wi-Fi here in the lab. At this point, you can do the cloud library from Rekordbox, but there are no streaming services available at this time. So I'm hoping, of course, that those will come along soon. I want Beatsource, I want Beatport on here ASAP, so I can actually use those. The potential is there, of course, but right now, yeah, we don't have them. We only have access to our cloud library if I had that set up, and the local sources, so USB, and I've got an SD card there in the back. So we can load our settings like we normally would on any Rekordbox device, and then we can go in and we've got the crates. We can go through key, history, matching, playlist, etc. That's all there, similar to like the RX3 and again the Opus Quad, that kind of thing. So let's go into that playlist and we can see then we can load a track up basically just by, we can long tap on it, load one, load two. We've also got physical buttons for that as well. So load up from one. One option that I do have on in the utility menu, I won't go into the utility menu on this video, but it's in there, is the ability, like with the Opus, to have your current hot queue set to the temp queue. So if I press that one there right now, I go back to the queue, that's queued it there. If I press that one, QB, now I press the temp queue, it's gone to that one. And I really liked that feature on the Opus. I was hoping that would make it to more Rekordbox devices, and yeah, it has here, so I'm very happy to see that. I think it's a cool feature. You don't have to have it turned on if you prefer the traditional way of doing things, then of course you can have that. But yeah, I love that feature. Really works nicely for me. We've got our effects over here, so let's get through those first of all. So pop-out menu on the side, you can assign them to both channels or the mic. So we can put the echo on me, or the master, and channel 1 there, and they are post fader and post crossfader as well. You've got physical beat adjust buttons, and we can choose our effect up here. We have what basically is a very similar list to like the 900 series of mixers, that kind of thing. So we've got delay, echo, transform, flanger, spiral, which I love. Pitch and roll. So all good there. I would have liked to see maybe a bit of innovation on the effects there. I mean, this is not club standard gear. If ever there was a device to kind of push the limits a little bit more on different effects, etc., this would probably be that device to me. But, you know, it is comfortable, it is familiar. And, you know, ultimately I'm a fairly lazy effects user and I will just generally be running echoes and adjusting the beat length all night. And again, I would have liked to see frequency selection for the effects as well, like you get on the 900 Nexus 2, the A9, etc. Even if it was just to have the option of a high pass echo or something like that. But there's no reason to say that that can't be added in the future. And it's the same kind of story with the sound color effects. You've got the knobs for those up here. We've got dub echo. And as on the mixers, these are post fader, but they're not post crossfader. And I can forgive that because that's what we're all used to on those club mixers. So we've got sweep, filter, crush, noise, etc. So again, yeah, all good there. It's kind of what you expect from Pioneer DJ on our Alpha Theta kit, so all good. And that menu just goes away, just with a little tap, all good there. We've got another menu on the side here, so we can adjust the jog mode between vinyl and the CDJ mode, if I actually use the right deck. Then we have quantize on or off, slip mode on or off, and then you don't have to touch the little hamburgers, you can just touch the whole menu on the side and it will put that away. So that's all good there. Waveform, you can adjust the size of that or the zoom on that, so you can go in or out. And then we have more stuff down the bottom here. We have the memory queue, so I can jump back to our first memory queue, second memory queue, and we can adjust whether we auto queue to memory queue or not. We can adjust the remain time, elapsed time, etc. Sync is a touch button there as well. And And we've got our pitch stuff down here, so we can adjust our tempo range and turn master tempo on or off. So yeah, it's all there. You know, it's not on physical buttons, but it is all there. The EQs, typical kind of Pioneer DJ traditional sound. You've got ISO or EQ mode for those. If we just go into the settings menu, you see the adjustments we've got. So we've got crossfader curve, channel fader curve. You can go through on the crossfader if you don't use a crossfader. Vinyl speed adjust for your slowdown. And the quantize value. We can also EQ the mics. It's both mics at once, so high, we can boost the highs, low the highs, and the low as well. We can cut the low and boost the low. So yeah, all happy with that. And your adjustments for your waveforms over there. There is more stuff in the utility beyond what I mentioned about the overwrite current cue with hot cue, but nothing especially exciting. You'll notice that when it comes to the VU meters, this is always channel 1, channel 2. And then we've got the master one is, you know, a virtual one up on the screen. It took me a minute to get used to that, but once I had, I was very happy with it. In terms of queuing, we have split queue in that menu. So we're going to the settings menu, we've got mono split and stereo. We've got Cue Master blend knob. And one thing I do like about this, and it was the same on the Opus, is you don't have to press master Q to have it enabled. You see I've just got nothing enabled right now and I'm still listening to the master through the headphones, and I really appreciate that. Plenty of headphone volume and your Cue Master blend knob to go and adjust the levels on there. Over here we have the cue buttons and the play pause. Very responsive, the typical, you know, traditional clicky cue, play and pause, feel great. They're not the biggest they've ever done, of course, but yeah, work great. And the same thing applies to the pads. They are not the biggest pads in the world. Let's just turn off quantize. But they are responsive. And some people will bemoan the lack of RGB lighting on these, and I'm a little bit disappointed by that. Obviously, you know, aesthetically they wanted it to look kind of clean and tidy, but yeah, I would have kind of preferred RGBs. The other thing is, these are just hot cue pads. There is no other function for these at all. There's no loop roll, there's no anything. They are just hot cue pads, and I'm certainly grateful that we have 8 of them rather than just 4 bigger ones or something like that. But yeah, it is worth noting they are just hot cues. That's all you get with it. Up here we have beat loop. Now this was new on the Opus, and I still really like it. It's a great way of working. You've got a loop encoder, so you just select the length by turning it, and then adjust, and you just turn it on and off by tapping. And that's a great way of working. I've always really liked a nice loop encoder, and that is definitely one there. Beat jump. Easily accessible on the screen. You can adjust the value with shift. So yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy with this kind of base performance of the device. You know, your browsing is all done in a traditional kind of way. Again, it's very familiar. If you've used any kind of record box standalone kit in the past, you'll know what's going on here. We will look at some of these more advanced settings. We can go in through this main menu here. We've got our playlist view, we've got the tag list view, and your search as well. There's a full QWERTY keyboard for your searching. Let's go up to this menu up here. Now the Bluetooth input I will take a look at separately because I'll probably mess that up and I don't want to here. This is the feature which I actually think is probably the coolest thing on here. It seems like maybe a small thing, but I think it's awesome, and that is Bluetooth output. So you can send the output of this to a Bluetooth device. So if you're playing a house party or something and they've got Bluetooth speaker there, or a Bluetooth boombox or something like that, you can absolutely just Bluetooth it straight to that. Now, of course, there's going to be latency there, right? You're going to have some latency. That's the nature of Bluetooth. It's never low latency enough for real kind of sweet blending and stuff like that. But if you're just maybe mixing in your headphones or something, and then you're Bluetoothing off to a bigger speaker to run the rest of the party, or let's say you want to Bluetooth to a speaker that's just in the next room and you've got some local speakers next to you, because you can have Bluetooth and the local output as well, you know, with cables. So for me, I just think that's a fantastic feature. It just helps it fit into the kind of life that I guess Alpha Theta are planning this device to have, which is for house parties and all that kind of stuff. I think it's magical, I really do. As I say, the Wi-Fi, yes, it is there. It doesn't do a whole lot right now. There's not a ton of stuff you can do with it. You can adjust the display brightness, and of course you can go to that day mode, which I'm not a massive fan of. Now I can see it being useful in a bright environment. That's what it's for, of course. And, you know, but I don't like how it looks because it's still got the waveforms are still as they are. So we go back out and go back to waveform, there we go. And yeah, you know, so you've got a bit more information, but the waveforms are still on a dark background, etc. I don't know how useful that's going to be by comparison with some. I don't think it looks that attractive, but ultimately it's not about how it looks, it's about how it performs. And when I pull all the lights on really brightly here in the studio, it does work, it does the job. I probably would have preferred inverted waveforms as well, just for that consistency of the UI, but overall, yeah. And the dark mode for me just works better. You've got this kind of grey dark mode rather than a full-on black, and I really like the kind of aesthetics of that. Then you've got a very clear battery display. You've got one in the top corner all the time, but you can see your remaining battery life, and eco mode as well. That basically will limit the Wi-Fi, the Bluetooth, and the brightness of the screen. So that does, you know, cut things off. If you want to use that connectivity, then you can't have the eco mode, but if you're trying to eke out battery life, yeah, absolutely. It's great to have that as an option, and certainly I would recommend, if you have the option to do it, if it's bright enough, drop that screen brightness down anyway, turn off the things you don't need, but that eco mode will just kind of do it all for you. So yeah, overall, yeah, everything's here. You know, it's a pretty compact device, and it does seem kind of minimal when you look at the physical controls, but there's everything you need here to actually get going and get DJing with it. It should work very nicely in a lot of different environments. I touched on some aspects of connectivity there, so let's get into more details on that. The two mics have that shared EQ, separate level controls on the top panel, and each has an attenuator on the rear. Mic 1 has a balanced jack input, and mic 2 has a combo XLR and jack. All good there. I really like that there are two distinct outputs, master and booth. Master is on balanced XLRs and the booth is on unbalanced RCAs, and whilst I'd have liked more balanced outputs, I do appreciate that you have separate level controls for each. They aren't both master outputs with one level pot. Something quite important to note, there are no physical DEC or auxiliary inputs. I guess Alpha Theta felt comfortable not having any, as you do have the Bluetooth input, but some DJs will miss that, I'm sure. Not everything has wireless on it. Also on the rear you have a USB-C port for connecting to a computer, and I believe record box on your phone, but I haven't confirmed that. I'll speak more on software support shortly. Then you have the two inputs for getting media loaded into the Omnis Duo, a USB-A port and an SD card slot. It had to have a USB of course, but on a device like this, I think the SD card is the way to go, as it tucks fully away inside the unit, ideal for travel. One thing I haven't mentioned is that you can record directly to media internally, which is a great feature to have on board, although that is disabled when you're using the Bluetooth input or streaming services in the future. Then we have another killer feature of the Omnis Duo, a USB-C port for power. This is something which competing devices always lacked, and I love to see it. Alpha Theta give you a power supply in the box, but the port will also work with any USB-C power delivery charger, which can deliver 45 watts or above. This means that you can charge the Omnis Duo with most modern laptop chargers, and even power banks if they have enough juice. Perfect for extending battery life on the move. Speaking of battery life, that's important on the Omnis Duo, and it holds up pretty well. Alpha Theta claim up to 5 hours of playback in regular mode, but that's going to be dependent on what you're doing with the device and what your settings are. I had 2 tracks looping with screen brightness on full plus Wi-Fi and Bluetooth on, and I got around 4 hours and 10 minutes from a full charge, which I think is perfectly respectable. There is also the power saving mode, which cuts off wireless connectivity and dims the screen a lot, and the company reckon you can get up to 8 hours of life from that. On the subject of wireless, that's where the Omnis Duo both hits and misses for me. I've already mentioned the Bluetooth output, which is great, and the Wi-Fi, which doesn't do a whole lot at this time. Obviously, I'm biased towards certain platforms, but I do think it's something of an oversight to have a product like this launching in 2024 with 0 native streaming options at all. And I don't just mean our own services. There is support for Rekordbox's Cloud Direct Play option right now, and I've been told that streaming platforms are coming later, but frankly, right now it just makes the Omnis feel a little bit behind the curve. However, there is another feature which could slightly fill that streaming shaped hole temporarily, and that's the Bluetooth input. Let's talk you through that now. Right, so we're going to talk about the Bluetooth input because I think this is the most innovative and kind of interesting feature here on the Omnis Duo. Now, I don't think this is a replacement for having streaming services natively on the device. Absolutely, I don't. You know, I want my Beatsource and Beatport playlists on there. I want to be able to access those as if they're local music, etc. This is not a replacement for that. But in emergencies, could get you out of trouble and also could have some real interesting creative possibilities too. So the idea that you could run an app like DJ Pro on your phone into the Omnis Duo, or you could run a beat making app or a sample player or something like that. There are definitely some potential uses for this that I could see, even beyond just like playing music straight in from your phone, which I don't think is the ideal use for it. Once you've got your phone connected, I've paired up my phone here. I also paired up my laptop in testing as well. That all worked fine. What I couldn't connect was like a Bluetooth mic, so headphones with a mic built in or anything like that. I would have loved to be able to do that and then, you know, sample your voice and work with that, but you can't do that. Once you do though, you're in there and you've got your phone is a source. And we're going to start off with the mixer option. So I'm going to switch it over to mixer. I'm going to hit channel 1. And so now when I play audio from my phone, it's going to feed into the mixer. And I can EQ it. I can do the up fader, cross fader, color effects, and even the beat effect. And as you can hear, it's kind of auto-detecting the BPM pretty well also, you know. So that's impressive, I like that. The controls up here, the physical controls, will only have limited use depending on what the app you're using, you know, like, so I've got DJ Pro running here, it'll stop it, but it won't start it again. And you can skip forward and back and stuff, so it just depends on the app what you're going to have there, but let's pull that back to the beginning again. So that's neat. If you just want to get audio from your phone or from another device in through the Omnis Duo, yeah, that's pretty cool, I like that. But I'm going to disengage that now. Let's see this option instead. So we've got the deck, we're going to clear the cache. There's a 10-minute cache, so you can capture up to 10 minutes of audio. That's now rolling. I'm going to hit load 1, and now let's start playing back on the device. And this is where things get, yeah, really kind of wild, really. So that is now, there's nothing, you can't hear anything, but it will start to cache the audio. So you can see the waveform is starting to fill out up there. If I press play now, I can set a hotkey there. And you'll notice, you know, I'm controlling what's cached to the unit. This is still playing on normally. I can EQ it again. And you can see the auto detection for the BPM, it's worked, right? 124, it's there. Which means I can also loop. I can beat jump. And then I can go back to that cue point. And I can set another cue point. And this now is fully cached, so even if I disconnect this Bluetooth connection from my phone, this will remain here. The only time it will be wiped is if I then load another track to this deck, and then it will clear the cache. But until then, it's there. And in the meantime, that's still playing on in the background. The cache is still growing, you know, the available. So we've now got, we go to the end, we've got nearly 2 minutes of audio. And then it will, so now it's going on still, and it's still caching, it's still getting the audio in. And I can scratch with it, I can loop it, I can use effects on it. I can, you know, play a video of myself and scratch my voice in there. There's all manner of things you can do with this. As I say, not a replacement for native streaming, absolutely not. But for emergencies and for creative uses, yeah, I can see some pretty cool stuff being done with this. And it is unique. It's something we've never seen in the world of standalone DJ hardware before. There used to be a very similar feature back in Serato Scratch Live back in the day, if I remember rightly, where you could record a mic in and instantly like work with that. But obviously you've got more options here because it's Bluetooth. You can choose whatever app you want on your phone. You know, you could use the Ableton app, you could use a looper if you're doing cutting, you could load a looper onto one deck and so on. There is a lot of potential here, absolutely. This is very, very cool. And the fact that it does detect that BPM as well. If it didn't do that, that would be more of a hassle when it comes to looping and whatnot. So yeah, overall, it's one of those features. I'm not sure how much use I would get out of it. Certainly once native streaming came to this device, I'm not sure how much use I would get out of it. But nonetheless, I respect it a lot. It's a cool feature. I said I would circle back to software, so let's do that. Honestly, it's another slight letdown. Support is promised for rekordbox in performance mode, which you'd expect, but on the Serato side of things, it's only going to unlock Serato DJ Lite. If you want to use Serato DJ Pro, you'll have to pay extra for that. That's the kind of deal I can understand if you're paying under $1,000 for a device, but at $1,500, I think it's a little bit cheeky. Obviously, things are still up in the air with the potential acquisition of Serato by Alpha Theta at this time, and maybe if they end up owning it, things could change. But as of today, if you want to use the Omnis Duo with Serato's Pro level software, that's going to cost you. I can't show you how any software performs with the unit in this video, as none of it was ready at the time of making it, so hopefully I can keep hold of the device until it is, and we can revisit that later. To conclude on a more positive note, the Omnis Duo is not really about software, so all of that is kind of secondary. No, it's about standalone performance, and really there, it's great. Even if you disregard the battery aspect, which you shouldn't, it's the most compact rekordbox standalone device we've seen to date, and that's a very cool thing. The smallest up to now was the XDJ-RR, which was substantially bigger, and definitely wasn't fitting into many backpacks. If you play off rekordbox USBs or SD cards, and you need something portable to take out to gigs where they don't have suitable kit, then the Omnis Duo is an absolute no-brainer really. It performs just as well as the bigger, more expensive Pioneer DJ standalone gear, but you can carry it on your back. So as intrigued as I am about how much the Omnis Duo will evolve over time with streaming and software support, even today for many working DJs this will be an ideal addition to their arsenal. And that's before you even consider the wider market of hobbyists who will pick one up for house or pool parties. It's an impressive debut for this new brand, and I'm excited to see what comes next. So there you go, my thoughts on the Omnis Duo from Alpha Theta. It's going to take a while. That is going to take a while, but I'll get there. Putting aside the branding stuff, the business side of things, as a piece of hardware, I really like it. Let's be clear, this is not an entirely original concept. This kind of has been done before elsewhere, but the execution here is absolutely superb. Like, it works really, really nicely. There are some great features in there. It takes all the stuff that I liked about the Opus Quad, but gives it a new aesthetic twist, which I much prefer over the Opus. I know lots of you loved how the Opus looked. It just wasn't the one for me really, but yeah, I like how this looks a lot. It does feel slightly incomplete to be doing a review at this stage because the streaming side of things is not in there. And you've got this kind of really future-facing device. And at the time of making this video, I don't have streaming in there to play with, and that doesn't feel very futuristic to me. So yeah, hopefully they'll let me hang on to it long enough so I can bring you an updated review with streaming and with the Serato support later on as well. And also I'd like to kind of hang on to it because it's a really fun device. It does do what the ones from the competition did, which is just bring that fully portable thing to life. And it's just great to be able to fire something up with nothing plugged into the wall. You just turn it on and play. That's really nice. It's a great experience. It is kind of pricey. It's not that cheap as things go, but the value for money is there, I think. You know, in terms of the performance, what you're getting for your money, I think it's there. And overall, the only other question that really remains is, where's the club stuff? Like we've seen now the Opus last year, we've seen the Omnis this year. These are the new future-facing Latin-named things in funny colors and whatnot. That's all good. But I checked just now, the XDJ XZ is just shy of 4 years old. And that club all-in-one stuff, even the RX3, which is more recent, that is starting to feel kind of dated compared not only to the competition, but also to the CDJ3000s and to this new line, the Opus and the Omnis. So I'm really hopeful, as I'm sure lots of you watching this are, to see some more club-orientated gear, because it feels like that stuff is well overdue for a refresh at this point. Let us know in the comments what you think. You know, are you happy with where you are with like an XZ or something like that? Would you like to see some of this new Opus and Omnis stuff incorporated into the club gear? And let me know as well what you think about the Omnis overall. Does it appeal to you visually? Are you excited about the new features in there, or the Bluetooth and all that kind of thing? Sound off in those comments below. Thank you for watching this episode of Beatsource Tech. I do hope you've enjoyed it or found it useful. If you have, please give the video a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos. I'll see you next time.